Mixed TV interview is supplied by Wholesale Supply Group. Visit us online at wholesalesupply.us.
And we have with us now State Senator Adam Lowe, State Representative Dan Howell, and State Representative Kevin Raper. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh wow!
Sound like a chorus.
Yes.
Who's singing lead?
Can I get an E flat? Dan used to sing some music.
So did he.
Well, but Senator Lowe lost all his credibility because when I was making fun of lemon Hardee's earlier, he said he loves lemons. So
Steve, no one agrees with you. Nobody.
On anything.
Nobody agrees with you.
Guys, I do want to get serious for a moment. I invited these gentlemen in this morning to give us some highlights, maybe to go back and look at the session, the legislative session, the regular session, which we've just completed, but then to look ahead. And I want to go first to Representative Howell because, look, your session's over.
Thankfully.
But it looks like you're going back, and so I'd just get some initial comments.
Yes, the governor, I think it was about 2 hours after we adjourned at 7 o'clock Friday, there was a news release that the governor planned to call us back. Preferably, I like the governor. We get along fine, but my preference would have been that he wait for that announcement at least a week to get us time to go home and rest. But indications are, at this point, I heard yesterday, maybe sometime in August. Too soon to tell. I'm sure they'll work it out in Nashville between the governor and leadership, but I expect we will go back sometime this summer or maybe fall.
What stands out from this session to you, Dan?
Well, we did so many good things, and what stands out to me is the fact that it's all covered up by the protests. We did a lot of good things for Tennessee. Tax cuts, in fact, I got a little note here from our caucus leadership that we cut, in fact, and since we've been in control, I say we, the Republican Party, been in control of the legislature, both House and Senate, we've cut taxes by well over $1 billion, and we continued that this year with $440 million tax cuts. I'll just run it down real quick because I don't want to monopolize the time here. But $124 million in business tax cuts, $273 million in food tax cuts. Now, that you remember last year, 2 years running, we've had the elimination of sales tax on food, but just for 1 month. This budget cycle, it's for an entire quarter. I believe it takes place October, November, December of this year. That amounts to $273 million out of the state budget. We created a $50,000 small business standard deduction, which would impact you, Steve.
Hey, there we go.
We created an exemption for up to $500,000 of property value for minimum measure. That impacts manufacturers on the property tax they pay on their equipment, and we raised the threshold for who is subject to business tax. This is a big one, from $10,000 to $100,000. So we did some really good things. Unfortunately, the protest happened, and all of this was covered up, and I'm glad you had us in today so that we can talk about that.
Well, I think it's very important. Senator Lowe, your thoughts on all this?
I can't echo it enough. These things are historic. I mean, they've never been done to this degree. I mean, $400 million in tax cuts, and that's an acknowledgement of who's been paying those taxes, right? We've overcollected. Tennessee has, through good fiscal policy, built health in the state, a financial environment where we now get to have the ability to see how we get money back to people. And because of our tax structure, we have to do that through sales tax savings, through business taxes and things like that. So this is really a monumental moment. I mean, the largest tax cut in Tennessee history, and we did it. Many of us on the campaign trail said we were going to do it. We went up there to make sure that we didn't take more than we needed. And even with this, we're standing going into next fiscal year with a $2+ billion surplus in recurring revenue that's unbudgeted. So the financial health of the state is amazing. Now, it's not always about money. It's about what you do with that money. Historic investments in school security and safety, historic investments in infrastructure and transportation, things that normally in a regular legislative session year would be making national headlines. but rather we like to turn attention to the dumpster fire, and that tends to be a little more attractive on the newsscape. But yeah, these things can't get lost, because ultimately the rhetoric that gets all the national attention is fun to watch, but it doesn't affect mine and your life. It doesn't affect how our families in East Tennessee operate, run, and grow. These things do. You know, sales tax holidays, especially around Christmas, are going to be exponentially impactful on families. What happens with transportation? What happens with school safety? What happens with expansion of health care that we have done in Tennessee? The things that we have targeted in paid leave, in teacher pay. There are just steps that we've made in the court system and what we're doing for due process of law in Tennessee. So we don't want those things to get lost, because they deserve that attention too, because they impact our families.
I want to go to State Representative Kevin Raper. Kevin, just your thoughts.
First of all, I want to echo what both of those said, and I want to add something to that, is the fact of not only are we giving back to taxpayers, but we have no state income tax, so you add that in addition to, and we're setting unprecedented territory doing something like this. And I want to skim real quick. I know we'll come back and hit some of these, but education, we gave raises to teachers, and we're shooting for the governor's proposal of trying to get to $50,000 minimum salary for all teachers. We just got through giving, in lieu of the tragedy in Nashville, we gave almost $200 million in safety for schools. Abortion, we are pro-life. We've passed pro-life amendments and added to the trigger law. They are estimating it'll save 5,000 to 7,000 lives of babies. Transportation, I won't hit that hard just because that's Chairman Howell's baby, but I will say this, one of the things I like most about it is it attacks the present and the future, and that has not been done before. Tax cuts, largest in Tennessee history, and I want to, I had a bill that was stating 2 months in sales tax savings on groceries, and the governor trumped me on that one and went to 3, which that sounds bad, but it's actually wonderful, so I'm so proud of that. Next thing is we added $250 million to our rainy day fund and saving money. The next one is on special needs schools like Life Bridges. We gave a number of monies to those, and they have revenues now where the minimum salary for those workers will be $15 an hour, and that is very, very much needed. It's hard to get good workers in anything. And one more that we did, and this was actually at the beginning of the session, we passed a law on child mutilation, where now when it comes to changing sex, then it has to be a person that's 18 years or older, and then they're considered an adult and they can make those choices on their own. That's just a brief list that I have, and they may want to add to those.
And I definitely want to do, if you're just joining us, we're joined by our local state legislative delegation. We're joined by State Representative Kevin Raper, State Representative Dan Howell, State Senator Adam Lowe. Representative Howell, I was having lunch with someone, I won't name them, it's unfortunate for me, but anyway, we were at Southern Living's top local restaurant, Aubrey's.
Yes. My wife's favorite place.
All right. Well, anyway, here's my point. Yeah. So this gentleman, and I'll tell you who it is off the air, but very loose term, gentleman. Anyway, no, we were talking about the transportation bill that passed, and specifically, this person was talking about obviously the construction that's happening on Georgetown Road, Highway 60, that sort of thing. Just a couple updates here. So an update maybe on that. Anything you have. You're obviously Representative Howell, the transportation chairman in the House. But then also just about that $3 billion plus transportation bill.
$3.3 billion,
3.3,
actually. It's the largest finance bill, and I was told, I don't know, but I had the honor of carrying that, but $3.3 billion, the highest financial bill in the history of the state of Tennessee. Wow. It's a new funding stream, which we had to have because the gas tax is flat. It's not bringing in the revenue we need to continue to the growth that we are experiencing in Tennessee. But that $300 million, the $3.3 billion, the $300 million of that is earmarked for county governments, county road departments, and I believe Bradley County is set to receive a little over, somewhere around $4 million in one lump sum. If they can use it in one lump sum, they probably can't, but they can draw it down as needed. Polk County, I think, is somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million they'll receive. Meigs County is somewhere around $3 to $3.5 million. I believe that's correct. And so we recognize that while the counties have their own road departments, they take care of between 60 and 70% of the roads in Tennessee. And they're an extension of state government, and we have not funded them as we should have in years past. So as chairman, I've been making this case along with Leader Lamberth, the majority leader, that we need to increase our funding for county road departments because they're our partner, and we've treated them a little bit like a stepchild in the years past. But we've stepped up this time. Governor Lee saw the need for that, and we're going to see some orange barrels. I know we all hate orange barrels, but if we're going to continue to grow and maintain our infrastructure, this is something that has to be done. The $3 billion that is goes to TDOT for the expansion and the leveraging of the finances that we need to do the choice lanes, to expand our interstates, and I'm told by Commissioner Ely that we'll begin to see some widening of our interstates. My number one priority for widening of interstates is I-24, because that's where I go to Nashville every time. But it's something that we needed. It's something that's going to continue to impact the economic growth of Tennessee, and we had to expand our funding, and I'm glad the governor did it.
Any update on Highway 60? Is it on schedule?
Highway 60 is doing well. I came back through there. I took a back roads route. Sometimes I just like to see the countryside, and I get off the interstate, and I came down 111 on Friday and came through there, and it's coming along. I think probably, I haven't checked with Thomas, but I will sometime this week, make my rounds. But I expect we're on schedule, if not ahead of schedule, and I think they've done an excellent job doing that. And that is one of those design and build projects, which is in the bill that we passed this past session.
Senator Adam Lowe, what else sticks out to you here?
Well, I think what sticks out the most is Tennessee's still a place people are flocking to. I think there's been an attempt to brand this session as somehow Tennessee's doing things wrong, and that's just not the case. There are people who are very, very angry. There are people who are very, very afraid. And there are people who take advantage of people who are very, very angry and very, very afraid. But behind it all is a government that has been attentive to the needs of local communities, both rural and urban, in Tennessee. You know, we talked about the teacher pay increases, but that's just the most recent in a series. Since Republican control happened in the 2006, teacher pay has been up 10%. This new bump's going to get it up to 20%. It's never seen an increase under any party's control like it has in the past 20 years. We've done more for education in the Republican ranks than we have throughout what the Democrats did the previous 140. We still continue to have conversations about how to reinforce education. We still continue to have conversations about what impacts things at home, whether it's roads or schools or law enforcement. And that's where the value really lies. That's everyday life. Do we have challenges ahead of us, particularly in the arena of mental health? You bet. You bet we do. And those challenges will be met with clear, decisive data, with reasoned minds sitting down, bringing the stakeholders together who understand about those issues to see how we can proceed. Some people would prefer to take those moments to hijack them for broader political purposes, but let me just say this. You know, social media can be a dumpster fire of anybody with a megaphone, and it has been a challenge to kind of penetrate that environment to get information out. The proof's in the pudding. At the end of the day, what you're going to get in the coming year, you're going to get tax relief. Your schools are going to be safer than they were before. If you're working in and around the services that provide for due process and education, you're going to be better off. And we're doing more for our most vulnerable populations, like those with developmental needs, than we've ever done before. And it's all because we've kept good, sound fiscal management to make those investments. And so all of that matters. And that's what I can say. We're going to transition into this special session season where we're going to be talking about reforms around how do we keep our kids safe. We have to keep that target in mind. How do we keep everyone safer? Some people are looking at the one lever they want to pull, which is gun control. But there are many levers in that equation that don't require us to violate constitutional rights. And so those of us who are trying to champion that are going to be much more comprehensive as we approach those issues. What I'll ask for everybody back home to do is to continue to speak to us, reach out to us, let us know your thoughts, what you see on the ground as we move forward in those discussions.
Representative Raper, I'll give you a final comment here.
First of all, I just want to give a broad stroke here. First of all, I'll take Chairman Howe. This area does not realize what a jewel they have in Chairman Howe. Number one, he's Chairman of Transportation. He does a great job. He is always acting with integrity. He is such a leader in the House. And then I give Senator Lowe, great job. A rookie coming in the Senate and never acted like a rookie, hit the ground running and has done a fantastic job. It's been a real honor for me to serve with these two. And I glean ideas from these two. A lot of times, if I'm ever stumped, I will. They're just a phone call away or an office away, and I'll walk down there and talk to them. So, folks, we are blessed. I mean, we have two fine educators here.
All right, gentlemen, there's so much to talk about, but we're going to have to leave it there right now. I appreciate our local legislative delegation, Representatives Howell and Raper, Senator Lowe, and as they said, you can reach out to them, and we will be talking, I'm sure, very soon. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, very much for coming in. All right, we're going to take a break. We've got more to come. We're going to talk about the Bradley County Relay for Life, which is this Saturday up next.
Mark Shepard, Shelter Insurance, 2334 Keith Street, Cleveland. Call 423-339-8777.